Welcome back to Cooking with Kaski. My name's Ty, and today we're going to be making a beef Wellington. I'm very excited to make this because this is one of my most favorite dishes ever, and this is going to be my final episode, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. Without further ado, though, let's get straight into it. Alright, we're going to start off with a beef fillet to begin with. The beef fillet, I'm doing salt and pepper, and I'm putting a lot on, or it may seem like that, but in actuality, it'll just work out in the end. It'll be just fine. And you see that I'm also spilling at the end. Don't worry about that. What we're going to do is we're just going to turn on its side and pat it up because you want every side to be covered. And basically, you just want to season everything you can. That's the best way to say about it. Alright, right after you season meat, what you're going to do is you're going to get a hot pan ready. You're going to put oil in, and all you're going to do is just sear the meat. Shouldn't take more than a minute and a half-ish, realistically, because you're not trying to fully cook it. All you're doing is searing it and making sure every edge is cooked, and that's pretty much it. You just want to make sure every edge is cooked, and it has that nice... And you know when you're done, when you have that nice color to it, and the redness goes away for the most part. Alright, right after you finish searing the meat, what you want to do is you want to move the meat over to the cutting board. I use the cutting board. You, of course, don't have to use a cutting board. You can use a plate, but why not? Anyways, what I'm doing right now is I just grabbed a spoonful of mustard, English mustard to be more specific. You can use horseradish. All you're doing here is just want to glaze it, and this will give the heat and the nice kick to the meat, but it won't be too overwhelming. Right after you put mustard on the meat, what you're going to do then is you're going to start working on the mushrooms. Now, for the mushrooms, what I used regular store-bought mushrooms. They work just fine with a couple of cloves of garlic and salt and pepper, just to give a nice seasoning. And I'm using a blender here to blend it to make it into a nice paste for cooking later on, because we're going to reduce that a bit. Right after you finish blending up the mushrooms, what you want to do is you want to then get a pan, put it on medium to high heat. I would stick more to the medium side, but yeah, you just put the paste right on there. A thing about this, don't put any oil, don't put any butter, because it'll be more than good by itself. There's so much liquid in it that what we're doing here is we're just trying to burn off all the liquid and just leave the mushrooms itself. I showed you 3 different sections here. I showed you when I first put it on it, midway through-ish. Midway through, it was starting to bubble up from the water, and then the third one was obviously when I took it off. And you can just see the difference. The color and the texture itself, you can just plainly see that. So that's what you're kind of looking for. Alright, right after you make the mushrooms, what you want to do is you want to get the beef Wellington ready and kind of form the shape of it. And what you do by that is you get plastic wrap, then you put a layer of ham down, then you put the mushrooms that we just cooked on top. With that, you just want to spread it as far as you can. I didn't use enough mushrooms, as you can kind of see here, but it'll be fine. I put that down, and then you put down the meat, and then you want to carefully put the plastic over the meat and kind of start forming that shape. Get some more plastic wrap and keep on making it into a ball, and then you want to grab the ends and twist them. Keep on twisting it and making it as tight as you can because you want it as tight as you can for later on. Once you make it into like a tight ball, and all you want to do is you want to put that into the fridge, let it chill for about 5 to 10 minutes. After that, we're going to move on to making the dough. Put flour on it. I'm using a little bit more flour because that's just what I'm more accustomed to. I don't want anything to stick, so I'm using more flour. And then to roll it out, I'm using a cup. You can use a rolling pin, which I would say is easier, but you can. I'm going more traditional in this, and I'm using a cup. Once again, you can use a roller, but why not a cup? Once the meat is kind of done resting, what you want to do is then you want to put it down and take it out of its film, obviously. Take it, put it in the middle, and you want to put egg wash all around the crust because you want it to stick. It's very important that it sticks, and egg wash is a great way. And I'm using my fingers here. You can use a brush. It'll be a lot easier and a lot more clean. But again, I'm doing this a more traditional way, and I didn't have a brush on hand. Forgive me. Anyways, yeah, what I'm also doing is cutting off the ends because there was too much dough. You want it to be nice and firm in a specific spot. You don't want it to be spewing out dough all over the place. That's why I cut off the edges so it makes that nice shape. Then once again, you get the plastic wrap and you do the same thing over again. You put it in there and you wrap it as tightly as you can, and then you proof it in the fridge again for about another 10-15 minutes just to keep that shape because it's going to be really important in the next step. Right after it's done in the refrigerator, you pull it out and then you put egg wash on the top of it, and then what I'm doing here is I'm just using the back of a knife and making a design. You don't have to do this, but I think it's nice and it makes it look nice. And then after you do design, or even just after the egg wash, you use salt and you put it on top just to give that little extra seasoning. I'm cooking it at 250 in the oven for about 35 minutes-ish, just because of how thick the dough is. I would recommend going a little bit lower on all stats, but it'll be fine. Once it's done cooking, we're going to pull it out, and I'm going to say that it looks really good, but let's see how the inside's looking. Alright, after getting a knife and cutting into it here, the inside is looking very nice. Let me just get a better look here. Yeah, it has a nice redness. You can see every single part. I don't like the color though. I think it could have been a little bit more darker, but I think that was just because I used a lot of flour. I used a lot of flour and I'm not using the correct dough. Like, the dough should be fine, but I think it's more the flour that's not giving it the proper look that I want. Otherwise, the cooked inside looks amazing, and I think it'll be fantastic either way. Now overall, I have to say, the beef Wellington was amazing. It was very good. I was actually very impressed. The only things that I had a little downside was probably the mushrooms I couldn't taste them that much, even when I had them by itself. I wish I had more mushroom to give that more flavor, but it'll be fine. And the ham that I had, I wanted proper ham. The stuff I had was store-bought, but again, you can't do too much sometimes, but amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was cooked perfectly, I think. The only issues were probably the mushrooms. I didn't have enough. Ham would have preferred better. It was still very good though. And the last thing would have to be, once again, the looks. I was hoping for something else. I was hoping for me more golden brown, but it was very good. And you're probably wondering, why am I not doing like a video of this? And why did I not do an intro one like this? Well, that's because I had infection in my mouth, and so I didn't want to show you guys how I eat food and whatnot. But yeah, that's just a little thing about my personal life, and my little excuse as to why I'm not eating on camera. Hope you guys can forgive me. But if you did like my final episode, which yes, it is my final, thank you guys for being here and with me. If you were, I do really appreciate it. It was a very fun experience that I had, and I think I learned quite a bit from it. But yeah, please check out everyone else's last video episodes on JHS Communications. They made amazing things from what I've heard, and I really am excited to watch them when they come out as a final product. But thank you. Thank you very much for staying with me and having this whole experience with me. I was very fortunate. Thank you guys. Have a great day.